Hello, I'm Greg Harrison with the USDA Market News Service here in St. Joe, Missouri this week with the National Feeder Cattle Summary, filling in this week for Corbett Wall. Looking at our feeder cattle prices this week, they sold very unevenly steady this week, or just had an uneven trend. Some of our larger auctions in the first part of the week, like in Oklahoma City and Joplin, traded mostly steady to $2 lower, and we've seen many auctions follow the same trend and pattern this week. And in some cases, we saw a wide spectrum of price ranges, ranging from $5 higher to $5 lower on the feeder calves. And in several auctions through the Plains states, all the auctions reported in Kansas were steady to $2 higher. And we saw the most advance in Pratt, Kansas, where they sold about 5,900 head of cattle, with 94% of the receipts weighing over 600 pounds, and the 6 to 800 pound steers trading $2 to $4 higher. They also sold right at 220 head of thin condition steers, weighing 820 to 825 pounds, with a weighted average price of $160.30. In the southeastern parts of the United States, calf markets, after last week's advances, saw uneven trade as well, but most of the auctions were reporting steady to $3 lower, in some cases $5 to $8 lower on the calves. It seems this week that the buyers were mostly wanting and needing to buy feeder cattle cheaper, and in many cases they did this week. But at the week's end, when you look at weighted average prices, it's hard to see much of a decline in any of the prices that you look at, and demand remains very good for all classes of feeder cattle at this time. This week started out with live and feeder cattle futures lower, with headline news talking much about $5 gasoline that we'd be seeing maybe before spring's here, and which makes one think that consumer confidence would find some resistance, especially with family budgets. And then on Wednesday and Thursday of this week, live and feeder cattle futures rose sharply, which helped to reinforce asking prices in the feedlots, as we saw packers were again forced to spend more money. Fed cattle prices roared in like a lion for March, as once again we set record prices on Thursday in Nebraska. Live sales were $2 to $2.50 higher, trading at $1.29 up to $1.30.50. Most of the trade was at $1.30. Dress sales were $5 higher, mostly at $2.05, and we had a few sales up to $6 higher at $2.06. In Kansas, live sales traded $2 higher at $1.30, and Texas saw sales also at $1.30, about $1 higher than last week. Hopefully, fundamentals will remain good as we're able to move beef overseas. We're seeing exports 7% higher than the same period a year ago. Significant amounts of boxed beef trade here on the domestic front. Market remains light at this time, and hopefully as we see warmer temperatures here in March, we'll see grills come out of hibernation and meat sales will increase as spring arrives. Looks like we'll continue to see tight supplies of feeder cattle and feedlot replacements going forward into 2012. And as we look at some regional weighted average prices in the north central region, steers weighing 600 to 700 pounds traded about $1 lower than last week at $170.91. 700 to 800 pounds steers traded at $157.34. That was about $2 lower than last week. And 800 to 900 pounds traded $1 lower at $149.22. And looking in the south central region, we saw 500 to 600 pound steers trade about $1 lower than last week at $182.01. And 600 to 700 pound steers trading mostly steady with last week at $166.95. And 700 to 800 pound steers also trading mostly steady at $156.77. And this has been your Market News Report. Corbett will be back with you next week. Have a good weekend, and you can catch more of our markets at this website.